this video, I'm going to show you how you can record, edit and upload a podcast for free. You don't have to have lots and lots of expensive equipment. You don't even need a microphone. You can use technology and things that you've got already available to you to get started with your podcast. So my name is Louise and I have been a music teacher for over 20 years. So I'm very used to editing and creating tracks to use in the classroom and outside the classroom. And this has spiraled into podcasting. So I've got my own podcast called The Teacher's Compass. You can go and have a listen. You can find it on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. And I have been working with some clients to help them get started with their own podcasts. So I thought I'd put together a little video to just show you how you can get started with your podcast without spending a penny. Assuming you've planned your podcast and you are prepared and you know what you would like to say, this video is going to show you how to record that and then get it ready and edited for an upload. Now you can use a microphone, but you don't have to. So I've just got a cheap microphone off Amazon, which has got an adapter that I plug into my laptop. But it didn't cost very much, and I know you can get these quite cheaply off places like TikTok. You can use one of these if you want to. Before I had a microphone, I actually just used my phone. So most phones have got a voice notes app, and you can just use that to get started and record your audio. Now, thinking about where you're going to record your podcast is a really important thing to consider. In my house, I tend to work in my kitchen, in our family room, but I've got the dishwasher on, so that's making a noise. I've got the washing machine on in the other room. So things like that pick up on a podcast. I don't tend to like recording in my office because I've got a big patio door and we've got hard floors, so the echo from in there is really quite obvious. The best place to record your podcast is actually in a car. Now that sounds really random, but your car is almost like its own portable studio because it's a small confined space. There's fabric in there, so then that soaks up the kind of reverberation of any sound that you're using when you're talking. And it's just the perfect place to sit and record and get crystal clear audio. I'm sat in my recording studio, aka my car. I am then going to just record the audio that I want for my podcast. It's a good idea to just test your audio first. So do a little bit of testing on your phone, record it, listen to it back, and just make sure you're happy with the sound. Once you've recorded your audio, you're then going to need a free program called Audacity, and that's what you're going to use to edit your podcast and create an MP3 file. This is a screen recording of my phone on the Voice Notes app. So the top file there is the one I want. I'm going to click on the three dots to the right hand side and hit share. Now I've got an iPhone and a MacBook, so I can airdrop that file. But if you don't have those types of equipment, you could share it on an email or you could message it to yourself. You could probably Bluetooth it to a laptop. I'm going to hit on airdrop and send that to my MacBook so that I can then retrieve that file and use that file in Audacity to create my podcast. My Voice Notes app has saved as an M4A file. So that's going to need to be converted into a different type of file so that we can use it in our program for editing. So I've got this really clever thing on my laptop that I have downloaded from the internet called Smart Converter. And I can literally just drag and drop that file into the Smart Converter. And I'm going to ask it, convert it into an MP3. Yes, please. Once that's been converted, you can then show where that file's located and look, it has changed it into an MP3 recording for us. I can then open that in our program called Audacity. Now Audacity is a free download from the internet and you can just download it on a laptop or a MacBook and it'll work exactly the same on both. So I'm going to open that MP3 recording in Audacity and it shows it as a visual track so that you can see the audio that's been spoken and you can see the sound waves. You can delete, you can change the volume levels, and you can just edit this track so that it sounds professional and it takes out things that you don't want, and you can also add things in that you do want. Now, generally I tend to zoom in a little bit so that I can see a bit closer, and you can see at the start of here there's sort of like some little tiny noises that we may want to get rid of. So let's have a listen to those. So this is my demo. Yeah, so we don't really want to hear that sound. So what we're going to do is just select that and literally hit delete on your keyboard and it's gone. Now let's have a listen to the start of that. So this is my demo. And you've taken away that rustle, automatically sounds way more professional because you've got a nice, clean, crisp start. So this is my demo for recording a podcast. I have sat in the car and I've recorded what I wanted to say on my podcast so that this is my audio recording. I might want to take that breath out as well. So same thing, I can zoom in a little bit closer to make sure that my cursor's happily marking the section that I want to delete and take that away. Now, if I still want a little bit of a longer pause in there, what I tend to do is select a silent part of the track and I copy that. I'm doing Command C on my keyboard, and then I can insert that to create a longer pause in my audio recording. I'm then gonna... And it also doesn't have any of that speaking. I feel like there's a little tiny bit there that I might want to delete as well. So let's just check what that sounds like. Audio recording. I'm then gonna... You can see that that's nice and crisp in that space now, and there's a silent gap before we then start talking, and you've taken away that breath, which does make a difference on a podcast, I think. So you can listen to that through. You might want to delete some of that bit at the end. Ready for uploading. You could hear that I breathed in there, can't you? So we can delete that off as well. Let's just say... Ready for uploading. I might want to take that from there and delete that last section. Oop. Ready for uploading. Ready for uploading. Okay, so I feel like there's a little bit from maybe there that I might want to take out with that breath. Ready for uploading. Actually, I think we could probably take it back to there. Might just want to tweak that bit. Yep, let's try that. Now, if you do that and decide that actually you didn't want to delete that section, there is an undo button. Nice and easy, and it sticks it back in. You can keep adding that undo button and it takes all those steps away. So if you think you've made a mistake, don't worry, don't panic. You can still undo. So let's just take all of that section out. Let's just try see how that sounds now. Ready for uploading. Perfect. Excellent. So that's your sort of basic audio file of your voice talking. Podcasts have an intro section and an outro. And quite a lot of them have music behind them as well. I'll do another video to show you how to do that. But there's plenty of websites where you can access royalty-free music and use that in your intro and in your outro to make it sound really professional. It doesn't have to be an expensive thing to do. There are lots of free sites where you can download that music and create your own intro and outro. So that I've already created for my podcast, I'm going to go to import audio and then select those files, which are here on my desktop. Whoop, there, look, podcasts, intro and outro. So I'm going to select my intro music, double click it and it will import. Now, if you zoom out, you can see that this is the intro and this is the actual audio that we've recorded. Now, that will play over the top. If I play that to you, both of those will play together at the same time. Ready for uploading. Which is not what you want. You want this bit after this bit. So we can use this movement tool here to drag the speech section of our podcast and line it up with the end of the outro. So if I play that to you now, you'll be able to hear the intro and then it goes straight into the podcast speech. Welcome to the Teacher's Compass podcast. I'm your host, Louise Schwartz, a former teacher turned life coach, and I'm here to offer guidance, direction and practical support for teachers and teaching assistants who are feeling overwhelmed or questioning their place in education. So this is my demo for recording a podcast. I have sat in the car and I've recorded what I want. And you can see how this fades out here, which is one of the tools in effects. You can do fade in and fade out, and you can use those effects then to make the music quieter and then the speaking louder. I'll do another video to show you how to create one of these. Now I've got my intro, I've got the content of my podcast, and then I want to add my outro. So I do the same thing, go to import audio, and then select my outro MP3 and pop that in. Now again, you'll see that that's underneath the file here, and it's going to line up at the same time. So we want to move that so that that outro is at the end of our podcast talking. So just like reading, it will do this section first, then this section, and then this section, because it will play through. So I'll just show you the end of the talking there, and it will run into the outro. That file ready for uploading. Thanks so much for tuning in to the Teacher's Compass. If you found this episode helpful, click on the link in the show notes for some more resources and support. Don't forget to leave a review on whichever app you choose to listen to us on. Your feedback helps us to reach more teachers just like you. See you next time. And again, I've got that music fading out to give a nice end to my podcast. So that is ultimately your podcast created. Now all you need to do is export that as a file, and it will combine all three of those tracks into one audio file. To do that, you're going to go File, you're going to do Export, and export as an MP3. I tend to prefer working as MP3s. They're better quality, I feel, than a WAV file. So you hit on here, give your podcast recording a name, choose where you're going to record it to, and then hit save. The final step in the process is then uploading your podcast to share with everybody. You don't have to pay expensive fees to streaming services. You can do this for free just using Spotify for Creators. If you've already got a Spotify account, you can link it to this side of Spotify, or you can just log in using Google and get started. That is how easy it is to record a podcast episode. Don't let the technology put you off, because once you test these things out and have a go and work through them, they're really not as complicated as they first seem. If you're really desperate to start recording your own podcast though, and you are a little bit unnerved by some of this technology and how to create the best sounding podcast, then please do get in touch, because I'd love to help you out and show you, or even do it for you, making up your podcast, because it's really not as difficult as you might think, and anybody can record a podcast for free without spending a penny.